Hello folks, coming up next is something interesting. Art teachers of Reddit, what's you draw anything you want story? In early middle school, we did a project where we used cardboard draped in colorful paper mache to make a sound word, like wham or crinkle. I was really into knights at the time, so I made the word that was the sound of someone unsheathing a sword. That word was schlong. Ah, yes. The sound of unsheathing your sword. Mine goes schlert. I have a design your own monster Halloween lesson. Most kids draw cute ghosts or cool vampires. One 7th grader drew a sad clown hanging by a belt from a ceiling fan. He had issues? Oh man, this reminds me of a weird childhood memory. In elementary school my mom bought this chain that hangs from the ceiling with clips on it to hand stuffed animals from. Super cool idea. Until one night I saw the shadow that it cast on my wall from the streetlight happen to look like a fat clown had hung itself. I had to explain the next morning why my response was to rip the entire chain out of my ceiling instead of rearranging things. Didn't get in trouble though. I ran arts and craft classes at a youth group for disadvantaged kids. Decided one day to give them total freedom. I just put out all the supplies we had and let them go crazy. Kids made some really cool works of art, all very colorful and creative. I was talking to one kid when another asked me to help him spell things for his artwork. I go over to his table with him and he's been making a card for a boy in his class at school. He tells me his friend's mom had just died from cancer and he wanted to make a card for him to cheer him up, but he couldn't spell anything he wanted to write. He was 13 years old and I had to help him spell out something like dear underscore, I am so sorry about your mom but I will always be your friend and here for you. Love underscore. I had to help him spell his own name. He made the card totally unprompted. I feel for the guy. He was totally sweet and caring for his friend and really smart, he just not got the help he needed. Went home after and had a little sob. I got in trouble once for drawing a pooping butt. Little did my teacher know, but the drawing was actually a poorly drawn butterfly that ended up looking like a hairy pooping butt, and when asked why I put the details I did like the legs and antenna and proboscidea coming off the segmented body, I said I dunno, don't they all look like that? I saw one at recess and thought it was pretty and wanted to draw it. Thinking of the butterfly of course. Nope, I ended up having to see the school counselor. Never assume what kids are trying to draw. Always ask. Yes. I worked at a summer day camp and one of the 4-year-old kids drew something that looked remarkably like male genitalia and everyone panicked and parents and psychologists got involved and finally someone asked him what he drew. He said it's a cannon. Look at it. It's on wheels. I was substitute teaching an art class. An 8th grader drew a picture of an adult woman molesting a child. I pulled the student aside after class and found out her aunt had been molesting her for years when she was babysat or came to visit. I reported it and her aunt ended up going to prison. Kids will sometimes draw things they wouldn't normally say out loud. Ugh, reminds me of the webcomic called Clarissa. She was raped and molested by her father and in class she had drawn a wolf taking advantage of a chipmunk. The teacher laughed it off and didn't think anything of it, thinking that wasn't what Clarissa meant to draw. Glad you reported it though. High school 1977. Not a teacher. While everyone else was drawing Pink Floyd rainbows and peace signs all over everything, the biggest burnout in the class made a wide metal bracelet with intricate triangular designs cut out of it. He turned it in and got a great grade for the first project he ever bothered finishing and some well-deserved praise for his effort. Teacher handed our work back and first thing he did was grab a pair of pliers and bent all the triangles outward, making it a thick metal spiked bracelet. I found that devilishly, disturbingly clever. Our spiked bracelet band or something? Probably then, yeah. I just remembered, a poor little guy who drew a self-portrait. He drew with meticulous detail and when it came down to drawing his pants he drew the zipper so carefully but it looked like a penis. I was flummoxed about how to tell him that people might see something there that he didn't intend. Did you end up telling him? What was his reaction? I did tell him, and he was so embarrassed I thought he was going to pass out. This is 6th grade. One kid had to have a meeting with the principal, her parents and the art teacher because the art teacher decided that because this 2nd grade girl only drew people without hands, the little girl felt powerless. All these adults question this child about the meaning of her drawings. She tells them, hands are too hard to draw. I want to see this art teacher's psychotherapy degree. Or they're like actual art. Any artist who isn't like savant level from age 6 knows the struggle of hands, feet, drawing the other eye. Former student here. We were supposed to do a bit of abstract artwork for a course assignment. My work was a framed square cutout from an old t-shirt I had previously used to help restain an old table. Not only did I get an A on the assignment, but I entered it into a silent auction later that semester and someone bought it. Also former student. 10th grade art teacher told us to draw the city 50 years from now. I drew flying buildings and she threw it back at me because flying buildings are impossible. You should have said in 1903, the NY Times claimed a flying machine wouldn't be possible for at least a few million years. Mere months later, the Wright brothers' first flight took place. 66 years later, humans landed on the moon. It took 66 years to go to space, not millions of years to fly. I've had some really funny ones, but this one is not and reminds me whenever I think of it to consider kids' circumstances. I worked in a low-income high-immigrant population school. This girl was amazing, outspoken, kind, great grasp of English. She drew a picture of her brother and her. I asked her who else was in the picture since there appeared to be part of a third person. She calmly replied, "That's my brother's head. He was killed in our village right before we went to the refugee camp." I look her up and down and say something sympathetic, masking my horror. "Yeah, they came into my village, grabbed all the boys and were going to take them away. My brother and his friend tried to run, so they cut off his head. I was standing right there. Would you like me to draw you a picture?" I said no thank you. I asked where her little brother, also in art class, was when this happened. "Oh, we dressed him up like a girl. He makes a cute girl." I should mention before the above exchange we were talking about One Direction or something totally banal. When I was in the 7th grade, our art teacher had us do whatever we wanted to be entered in the school art fair. I was really lazy and decided to just use every color of pastel that was available to draw a rainbow of sorts on a piece of construction paper. Then I tore it all into pieces and glued them all together again randomly. I called the piece Life and argued that it was supposed to represent the chaos and uncertainty that is life. It ended up winning first place in my grade's part of the art fair, and I ended up getting a cool art set, but really it was just me being lazy and feeding some bull poop about a deeper meaning. That's pretty ironic. For all the people that spent countless hours planning their project and then poured their hearts and souls into it. Their parents told them it was the best art project they had ever seen. And then life serves up as it always does, and the person who didn't care and was lazy about it wins. Nice. Parent here, not an art teacher. In kindergarten, my son came home with a packet of finished assignments he got back from the teacher. One was a paper having them draw a body part with the prompt "Here are my." Example given was feet. What did my kid draw? Butt cheeks. Drawing of the back of a person with two giant, well drawn, I might add, cheeks. My husband and I laughed our own butt cheeks off when we saw it. We kept the paper. For posteriority. I laughed at the posteriority joke. Clever. As a kid was told to do a drawing that was going to be put on a plate, drew my cat doing a poo. I was asked multiple times if I wanted to redo it. I declined the offer. So most of my life I ate off a plate with my cat on it doing a poo, as it was my plate, and still do. My siblings had similar plate with a car and a rocket ship. Mine is clearly much better. Was around 5 or 6 at the time and totally worth it, still have the plate. My brother was told to draw an animal from any angle he wanted, so he drew a dot and said it was a very far away lion. I love that. I bet the students in the year after him had slightly amended assignment criteria. Lol. Student here. My art teacher was somewhat crazy. She let us draw anything we want, and to get 100% all you had to do was tell her it had a deep connection to the earth or some other nonsense. I drew a jellyfish and told her it represented wisdom because it was immortal. I like to imagine one day she will just see a documentary on jellyfish and learn that they can't really learn or have wisdom and just have this epiphany: that kid was just making poop up. To be honest, she's the kind of person that wouldn't believe the documentary. She's very spiritual, I don't know how else to describe it. I have loads of stories about this teacher, they're hilarious. When I was in 2nd grade, our teacher told us to doodle on the back of a quiz if we finished early. I decided to draw a house high in the sky with a long staircase leading to it. To emphasize its height I drew clouds, but it needed more. I decided to add in an airplane. Later my teacher called me to her desk and I got in trouble because the plane looked like it was heading towards the house, and this was right after 9/11 happened. Still have no idea what I was thinking. Did you really understand 9/11? I think I've done worse things in school in purpose. I think I never fully processed 9/11. When I was in high school, Part of the final exam/assessments in art class involved picking an object of your choice, based on a written passage, and painting it as best you can. My art teacher told us about one kid who chose a book as his object. He turned up with an art book with a professional still life painting on the cover and proceeded to recreate the painting stroke by stroke. There were phone calls made to his parents and to the Board of Education over it, but the kid got away with it in the end. I assume there were some changes to the rules after that. What would have been your answer or question? Leave it in the comments below. Slap that like and subscribe button for more, and check out the link in the video description for even more answers. Peace out, and catch you in the next video.